Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed that film. A lot of work to put it together. Tone's very simple, but I just wanted to show you how it was put together because there is one thing in it that's kind of special and unique, and it's something that we haven't been able to do in AmpliTube until 5 came out. And it's another reason why you should have the full version of AmpliTube 5 when you're trying to get the Brian May sound. So we'll go over to the computer and we'll have a quick look. Okay, so the patch is basically sort of a reworking of some of the stuff I did in my last video about Montreal, so I'll just quickly fly through it. So I do have options here for a noise gate, for a treble booster for wah. I also have just a single amplifier this time, so it's just a single Brian May amplifier, and like the last video I don't have it on full volume just so that there's still some flexibility. The next thing that's unique about it, I suppose, is this block here. So if we have a look at how the speakers are put together, we see we have the 2x12 grey vintage cab, and I've put in this actually the original set of speakers. Now on some of the tracks I actually used Blue Alnico speakers like this, and I'll just show you what the difference is. So this is it with the blues. And then this is it with the speakers that it comes with by default. So it's a subtle difference. Now I prefer it with the blues, but you can have either for different tracks, because when you listen to a multi-track recording you're hearing a lot of different sounds gelling together, so it's nice to have a bit of variety. So this is the magic bit. What we can now do in AmpliTube 5 is load impulse responses, and for those that aren't familiar with impulse responses, what they are sound files where some white noise or a particular type of frequency was pushed through a speaker that you're trying to emulate. That sound was captured, and then you use a thing called convolution to mix your sound of your amplifier with this recording of the speaker to make your sound like it's coming out of that speaker, if that makes sense. So why would I do that? The speakers that come with AmpliTube 5 in the full version are fantastic, and you should never really need to try different ones, but it's always nice to have more options. But there's one thing it doesn't do, and it's actually kind of important for a lot of the studio recordings, and I've tried to emulate it with equalizers, but this is another way of doing it, and that's the sound of the back of a cab being microphoned, because when Brian May actually records in the studio there's an SM57 point straight at the back of the cab, and that gives it a fairly unique sound. It gives it a kind of ambience and a bit of warmth that you don't usually get from just putting a mic on the front of an amp. And what I've done here is I've actually blended the two. So if we look at the screen you can see what I've done here. The particular impulse response I'm using is one from OwnHammer's set, and I'll link this in the comment or in the description. It's just $8 US to buy, and you get a whole range of Celestian Blue speakers captured in this way from lots of different vantage points in the room at different angles with different microphones. The only thing I really wanted out of for this was a rear mic, and I have one of these selected here. If you look over here in AmpliTube, you'll see that I have a little bit of a high pass filter on it just to take out some of the woof out of it, and I have changed the tilt a little bit just to give a slightly different emphasis to the sound, and that was just to help it blend more with the with the AmpliTube cab. In terms of ambience, it's going into the amp closet space, and there's not a lot of that dialed in, and the same with this cab as well. And even though again that I have two microphones on this, I'm just simply using this condenser 67 microphone slightly off axis. Now I'll just show you what that does, because that's kind of important I suppose. So this one is cab 2 in my mixer, so I'll just turn it off. So this is just the Brian May Vox going into the silver speakers. Which is a cool sound. And then I'll introduce the back of the cab. And you can hear straight away that that's kind of adding an extra bit of oomph to the sound. And what I've done is I've worked with the blend to try and make them kind of sit well together. Looking at the rest of the chain, you can see, as per my last video, I have an equalizer that's really just working on pulling out a lot of the very low frequencies, and I've done some tweaking with the high end as well, and I've taken the very high out because again that's where noise would live. I'm also using the EQ81, the Neve channel. I've done a little tweak to this as well though. I've just taken some of the very low end off it because it was a bit of a woofy type of sound, and that's really it. And basically that's what you hear on the recording that I've done, the only difference being the types of speakers that are in the AmpliTube cab. So all very simple. I'll leave it up for download. It will not work on its own. You really need to buy the impulse responses. You don't necessarily have to use OwnHammer's one. I just particularly like that one in this set. Celestion themselves make one. I'll just let you hear what theirs does. So this is the Celestion back of cab sound, which is also very useful for some things. And just to compare it again with the one that I used. So it's nice to have options, and Celestion's ones are all fantastic as well. It also means as well that if you want to experiment with sounds outside of the speaker sounds that are available in AmpliTube, you also have that option as well. To be honest, I think the ones in AmpliTube are absolutely fantastic. It's very hard to beat them, but again, you might have slightly different tastes, and this will give you more options. In terms of how I figured out the song, I had a bit of difficulty with it because it isn't at concert pitch. So you actually listen to it, it's about 27 cents too sharp. So when they were mastering the album, they made a decision obviously to speed it up kind of slightly, and it is actually a fairly belting pace. When they did that back then, there was no way to compensate for the change in pitch, so it did make it a little bit sharp. So just to make it easier to transcribe, I pitched the original recording down 27 cents. And there was another thing just to listen to it as well, that a lot of the guitars are hard panned left and right, which was actually a very good thing, because it meant that when I split the original track into left and right, I was able to more clearly hear what each guitar was doing, and that was very important when trying to work out the harmonies. So, you know, very easy song to get wrong. I think I got close this time, and there'll be another video very shortly as well where I'll talk about some other videos and resources that have been doing the rounds this last month, and I'm working on another tone that would be more in the 1986 vibe, so we'll probably have that hopefully in another week. So keep safe everyone, and chat to you soon.